So hello YouTube, my name is Vlad, and what I have in front of me is actually my friend's mobile phone. Well, his girlfriend's, and it is broken, as you can see, or you cannot. Well, let me turn it on. This is Oukitel. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but as you can see, the screen is quite shattered. And I have this one to replace it with. Not quite sure whether this is original or not. And let's try to, well, disassemble it. There are a couple of screws on both sides, and there is this thing for the SIM card. So first of all, let's remove the SIM card. Well, there is no SIM card inside, but there is an SD card. This actually boots up quite slowly. And I can turn it off now, but as you can see, it does boot up. I wonder how difficult this thing is going to be to, well, disassemble. Let's try to disassemble it with a suction cup. Okay. Let's try with the smaller one. Let's see if I can open this thing. Okay, so yeah, this is plastic, and it is, I guess, easy to open with pry tools. However, okay, you don't want to use too much force, I guess. So this was easier than expected. And there is a battery inside. As you can see, this is an oversized battery. So the next thing, I'll probably need to remove all of these screws, and there are plenty of them. So let's get started. So again, let me show you. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a protection sticker. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this one is in here 11, but it is missing, which is kind of strange because, well, maybe there wasn't any in here. Oh well. This thing was, well, brand new. So far all of them are of the same size, so this is I guess a plus. Let me zoom in a bit. So yeah, all of the screws are the same, so there is really, well, no need to put them in separate piles. I do actually have a magnet in here, which I'll be using to, well, remove them. And okay, okay, so this is a speaker. So this is a speaker, and it has been soldered on, so be careful when removing this. Okay. Now let's see whether I can remove the battery itself. Okay. So this is the second camera with flash, and let's see if I can remove the battery now. And this is shielding, so this probably needs to, well, be saved. Yeah. Well, I'll place that thing back. I'm gonna assemble this thing, and this one over here just disconnected, and this is the battery power. Let's see whether I can lift this thing up right now. I think I might be able to. We'll see. Okay, this is so easier than disassembling an iPhone. It truly is. Well, yeah. Okay. Now let me take a look at the in this connector. So this one is for the LCD. Let me remove it. Okay, and this one underneath as well. So this one is also the LCD. So the next thing you need to do is pull this thing up a bit and remove this part, I think. Yeah. Okay, so we have this thing and this thing removed. We can actually move the camera, but I don't think that there is any need. Okay, so the next thing I will be removing actually is this thing, which is Wi-Fi. And again, there are a couple of screws that need to be removed to remove the logic board. So let's do that. So I believe that there are only actually two screws, this one and this one, but I'm not quite sure. Okay, and underneath in here there is this small connector, which you pull up, and you can actually remove this thing. And the motherboard has been removed, and these connectors have been removed as well. Now I think I'll need to heat this thing up. This thing just fell out. I guess we'll have to find where this thing goes later on in the process. Okay, now I guess like every other modern LCD, this thing needs to be heated to be well, disassembled. So let's try and do that. You know what, I'll remove the entire motherboard as well, so I'll remove these two screws and this antenna which holds it in place, just so that I don't screw something up. Okay, this one is a bit thicker, so I'll be placing them in a separate pile. This one as well. Okay, let's remove this thing. Okay, now let's see where this thing actually goes. This is the button. I can actually remove the button as well, just so that I don't melt it. Again, different screws. That's quite easy to well, disassemble. Okay, now the fun part begins. Just a second, I'll remove this thing as well, so that I don't melt it. Let me turn on my heater. I think I'll need a better tip. This thing is glued pretty heavily, but it does seem to budge, so as you can see, but again, pretty heavily glued. Oh, and again, it's very hot. Very, very hot. Okay, I'll try the other side. And this is this thing gets quite hot, so yeah, yeah. Oh boy. Up. Okay. And this thing has actually been removed quite nicely. But yeah, this thing is hot. So this thing will go in the trash. And I need to see where to glue this thing. Last time. Now I need to clean this thing up because there are some debris. I don't actually need the heat gun anymore, so I can turn it off. Okay. So, isopropyl alcohol, this is actually quite a good brand. Not sponsored by them in any way, but it, well, it does the trick. I think they're UK based. So, let's clean it with Q-tip and some alcohol. And this thing already evaporated. So yeah, there is that. Now I need a bit of trim tape, and this one seems to be, well, generic one and thick one. Go figure. I'll try to use it, but I don't know. I mean, the trim tape is a good tape, but I might need a thinner one. Okay. Can I try to peel this thing off and see whether it will hold? Well, it does seem to hold, so that's something, I guess. Okay, I'll need to peel this thing as well. And the problem with this tape is if this thing does not hold, the screen will just fall off, and I don't want that. Although this tape did come with this screen, so you know. Yeah, but so far it does seem to hold, you know. I'll need to cut because it is too long, you know. Okay. Yeah, this is actually quite sticky. I think this might work. Okay, now I need to... Well, only thing I need to do is actually to move this thing through here, and I think that's pretty much it. And let's see how good the tape actually is. Whether I'll need to replace it with something else or... Okay, so I guess it does look quite nice. Now if it only works, right? So we need to assemble everything back together. Now the first thing I'll be placing back is, well, the touch/fingerprint on this thing. So I believe this thing goes up the dot. Okay. Let's a couple of these. And then the next thing I'll be placing back is the, well, this speaker and, okay. There are 2 screws as well. Okay. Now let me find those screws. They're the ones that were a bit thicker. So let me screw them in. I'll also need to connect this cable, which is the fingerprint. Okay. I won't be screwing this thing back together because I need to put the upper motherboard. First we need to install buttons, then we can install everything else. So one button is inside. Just a second, I need to find the second part. So bloody volume rocker, I needed to put everything back in place before I found it. But this is actually high quality metal, which is all impressive. The manufacturing of this phone is actually quite nice. Okay, now that I have placed everything, I can put the buttons. And the buttons go between the rocker and the chassis. Okay, so the next thing I'll be actually connecting is, well, this thing. So this bent part obviously goes in here, obviously. Okay, and this thing goes in here. Okay, and I can actually now put the antenna for the wireless back, and I can connect everything, hook everything up, right? This actually looks quite cheaper than the outer casing. Go figure. Let me show it to you. So this thing, I'll just push it in. Oh, somebody's calling me. Be right back. Anyway, so after I connected the buttons, I can connect this thing as well. And I will be removing this thing because this thing goes from the top side. Okay. Okay. Okay, and one thing I screwed up a bit is this thing, because this thing goes on top. So mind about that. I guess I would say this is actually not that hard to replace the LCD. I do hope that the 3 amps that were supplied with this LCD are good enough. But repair wise, I would say this is not that hard to repair. Okay, so let me put the buttons back in. Okay. And let me connect the antenna. And let me connect this thing as well. This thing goes on top. Now I can actually glue this thing, so I'll need to remove this tape. And now I can just glue this thing, and there are 2 more screws which I need to screw in, which are the ones that hold motherboard, so in here and in here. And the last thing I need to do is actually to put the battery back in, and well, hope for the best, I guess. Because everything is actually connected. So this is not that hard to well, disassemble and reassemble. Okay. So now the endless number of screws, and as you can remember, this one was not mounted, at least not in my case, so yeah. Let's screw everything back in. Okay, so let me put in this plastic. And this thing goes in here, and now I can screw everything back in as well. So, and there are no extra screws, which is always nice. And let's put this thing back in as well. And let's try to turn it on. So I did turn on. Now whether, yeah. As you can see, this is actually brand new screen, and yeah. So it is turning on now. Let's see whether the touch is working. And I'll just, I'm not quite sure for what these rear screws are. I think that you actually do not need to remove them, but what can you do? I already did remove them, so you know. Let's test if this thing is actually working, but yeah, it does. As you can see, there is nothing. So this thing is working. Is this thing working? Yeah. So everything is working. This is back, I believe. So yeah, this, yeah. So all of the buttons are working. Is this thing working? Yeah. So there you have it. Until the next time. Bye bye.